We all understand the type of climate that we're dealing with. We're dealing with multiple offer situations.
I'd love to know sort of what's your why? What makes you tick? Why are you so successful?
Have a dialogue with your lawyer. Have a dialogue with your agent.
Both sort of passionate about sort of what we do.
Again, vet your agent to make sure that they're experienced and they're local. I like that idea.
No excuse to miss it on Saturdays from 8 to 9.
That's right.
WBZ.
And now, the show that gives you the latest and most relevant housing market news. Real Estate Radio Boston with financial expert Rick Shearer and legal professional Ali Alavi.
With the premise of creating this show has been to be Mythbusters. And one of the things in the past few weeks, I have fielded probably over a dozen calls as a result of real estate, either buyers or real estate agents telling buyers or telling sellers about the fact of, well, you know what, you can sign this contract, but you don't have to worry about it because the measure of your damage is only limited to the deposit that's at stake. Now, for those listeners, when you're signing a residential contract and that's an offer to purchase, there's a minimal deposit that the buyer will put in, which is commonly $1,000. And I think the advice that these agents are offering to their respective clients is don't worry about it. You don't necessarily have to perform because really the only thing you can lose or the only thing you can gain is that $1,000. Is that not a fallacy?
That's a really interesting question because if you look at that form, it says that the seller may retain the buyer's deposit, but it doesn't say that that's the seller's only remedy. And in real estate situations specifically, the seller and the buyer have a right that's called the right of specific performance, which is I can force you to perform this contract. Not pay me money, not pay me legal fees, just perform the contract itself, which in this context is buying or selling the real estate.
What if I don't have the money to perform the contract?
Well, then you're going to get a judgment against you for an awful lot of money eventually. But it's really a practical situation, too, because in this market where you have a solid market, perhaps even a rising market, sellers are usually very happy to just scoop the deposit and move on to the next buyer.
Right. And so, a lot of people think that because the purchase and sale agreement has a lot more pages to it, has a lot more legalese to it, that's more of a stronger contract than the one that you sign at offer. Is that true?
Well, it is true. The problem is that there is case law in Massachusetts. It's not a problem. It's actually a benefit to many parties to these transactions. But the case law says that the one-page offer to purchase, which is on the Greater Boston Real Estate Form, it says, even though it says it's subject to subsequent execution of purchase and sale agreement, that form itself is a contract. Mm-hmm. And if the P&S is simply an administrative formality that's going to happen in 2 or 3 weeks, there are courts that will order specific performance of the offer itself.
So just because you sign that offer, that could force you to close on the property.
The offer is, in most circumstances, a contract.
Listen, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, don't you agree, Rick? I mean, the proof is in the pudding. You have a successful track record. I mean, you've been in the business for a couple of decades. You have a tremendous following, great reputation, and
it goes back to what I was saying in the beginning is you get what you pay for. With your cousin out in Worcester that doesn't know the market, they're probably going to give you a deal, okay? But the deal is going to cost you a lot more than bringing a top professional that knows the market, knows how to market that area, knows the buyer in that area. That's the most expensive deal that you're going to get, and that's just my opinion. I think that people need to understand that
they do.
Yeah,
they do, and
experience.
it's hard for me to say. Don't use your cousin. I'm not going to say that.
Yeah, right.
But however, when you look, and of course everything's online.
Right.
You look in the MLS and it says expired.
Mm-hmm.
Geez, what happened? That was a good house.
Yeah, right.
Then you see extended, or then you're going to see reduced. What the heck?
Right. I mean, obviously, they're not employing the proper marketing techniques there.
Now, Diane, I want to, with every good powerhouse listing agent, you always need a person by your side.
Absolutely.
And the person that you brought in today is Eric Klein. And Eric, I just want you've got a great background. You've been in real estate for a very long time. A licensed property appraiser, which is awesome when you go in and I mean, that's such a value that you can bring to buyers and sellers as well. But
and he's got an MBA.
He's a smart dude. And so, Eric, tell us a little bit about what you do on the Diane's team and how you support your buyers, especially in this crazy market for buyers.
Yeah, as a buyer's agent, you're facilitating a process. And with all the websites that are out there now, the Trulias, the Zillows, a lot of times your buyers are seeing houses that come up sometimes before you do, because they're at work, they're on their lunch hour, they're hitting refresh, they're seeing things instantly as it comes on.
Mm-hmm.
My thought and what's given us a lot of success is that as a buyer's agent, specifically, you're a facilitator.
Right.
You're helping in a very complex process that on the surface doesn't look complex, but as you both know, there's layers of complexity to it that if you're going at it alone, it's probably a license to fail.
I mean, you're a master negotiator. I mean, and
I would
you
say
need
he
to.
is.
And, I mean, as buyers agents, you're master negotiators, and you need to be able to present the best offer that, in your experience, will most likely lead to a successful an acceptance by the seller. So there's a lot of homework that goes behind that. There's a lot of psychology that goes behind that. Wouldn't you agree?
There is, and I think there's a way to read these listings too, because what I do as an appraiser helps as a buyer's agent.
So for any real estate agents that literally are sitting down with seniors that need this help, I mean, I think that's a perfect thing to do because, sometimes depending on their financial situation, they're not flush with cash.
Exactly.
All their money is in their equity of their property.
Correct.
That's huge.
Correct. I mean, everybody needs a well-prepared home. Everybody needs a chance to get the maximum return. So, and some people just don't have the funds.
Let me ask you one other question. So when you talked about helping people get in and unpack and do that sort of thing, let's say there's a gap between the time when they're going to move from one place to the other. Let's say they would just want some painting done or want some things done within that home.
Sure.
Again, is that a service that you'll help them do when they're moving to their new home?
Yeah, the new place, absolutely. If it's a local home, we go in there and we can take care of the repairs and set them up there as well.
Just so the listeners appreciate this, you're out of Newton. Your service sort of circumference 10 miles in and around the city.
Yeah, it's
right?
about 10-mile radius of where we are,
Right.
plus minus. Yes, that's
Right,
correct.
and so you bring a fresh perspective because you're servicing individuals that are planning on marketing their property, the steps that you're assisting them with in order to be able to effectively market the property. What are you seeing in trends? Are you seeing a lot of seniors downsizing? Are you seeing individuals moving perhaps from larger homes? They're empty nesters and they're moving into condos. Are you seeing those trends?
Well-
and then I have a follow-up question on that.
Well, seniors always been downsizing. Once you get to a certain age, or whatever situation that you're in, perhaps your spouse passes away, you just no longer handle stairs. I don't think that affects the trend. That just affects life.
Right.
So for seniors particularly, so nothing really changed there.
Right.
Of course, everything else on the market is how strong it is. So, but still, you still want to get the maximum.
What are some of the
returns.
challenges that are associated with dealing with a senior move, dealing with a senior that perhaps needs to downsize and get rid of
Sure.
a bunch of stuff that they may have memories attached to them?
Sure. Yeah, of course, you're right. Attachment, memorabilia is huge, and they just don't understand how they're going to part with it.
Right.
They don't want to let it go. So not only we do this, we also we train. Not when I train psychologists, but I have to think of myself as a psychologist. So we go at the pace they want to go with. If they want to go
Right.
slower, we go slower. So if they're not ready to get rid of it today, we'll wait for tomorrow or in a week.
Or-
So we slowly target towards their needs, their speed.